Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you. I'm so glad that you're with us. Thank you for tuning in to Spirit Matters, your daily check-in with us here at the Bhakti Center. I'm coming at you live from New York. My name is Dal Grunga, and I'm really happy to be here with you. We've had Jamuna Jaya with us this week as our guest. She's been on Monday, Wednesday, and she'll be back tomorrow, Friday. I'm flying solo in between. So if you haven't listened this week, please go back and listen to the great conversations we've had with Jamuna Jaya. And tune in tomorrow. Well, she'll be joining us to conclude our week. This week, or just today, I've been thinking about this idea. I have this community group on Wednesdays that we do online, and we read this beautiful book by Simon Haas called Yoga and the Dark Night of the Soul, The Soul's Journey to Sacred Love. So usually I give a class Wednesday afternoon, and then my podcast Thursday morning. A lot of it is usually afterglow from things I read in that community group because it's so rich and it's so beautiful. And interestingly, I was going to share this with our WhatsApp group because we got a little WhatsApp group for Spirit Matters here where some of our daily live listeners tune in. A couple of days ago, it was a Tuesday morning. I was giving a class with the Bhakti Center. I don't think it was here in Spirit Matters, but I was speaking, and Stephanie, one of our live listeners, she referenced this ancient Japanese art that where when things are broken, it actually increases the value of them, because what's like if a piece of art gets shattered or broken, it's repaired with this lacquer. I think lacquer is how you pronounce it. Lacquer, lacquer. There's a different way of pronouncing it. Somebody let me know. This lacquer, almost like this glue or this adhesive thing that is infused with like gold powder, so that the cracks are now, it's not just like this white glue, but it becomes like this gold design that actually enhances the beauty of whatever it was before, so that it becomes unique and becomes actually more beautiful and more precious, so that actually the brokenness enhances the value of it. So she was referencing that in the comments. And then the very next day on Wednesday, I'm reading this book, Yoga and the Dark Night of the Soul, and Simon Haas brings up that very same exact art form. Isn't that amazing? So I wanted to share that with us. I wanted to share it. He has this beautiful, hold on, let me see. I got to find it. I was here in the book and then I lost it because there was a couple of things that I wanted to read. Yeah. So he was talking about, and this is, I wanted to, and there's these verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam that I've also been referencing this week in some of my classes and discussions, and reading and kind of meditating on a lot of it about softening the heart. Softening the heart. I've been thinking a lot about misgivings and holding grudges and coming at things with a charge, and just blaming it on Mercury's in retrograde, or I'm a Scorpio, or whatever it might be, or, and then but actually the reality is that I have a wall around my heart. I've got tension just that I carry around. Like how often do we just kind of check in with ourselves? Like, what's my baseline state of being? I've been in periods of my life where I realize my baseline state of being is just like fear or irritability or anger. I'm just walking around with this low grade base anger that I'm ready to snap, or just, and it manifests in sideways ways of just kind of like road rage, or being sharp with people, or being a little short, and I think that we blame it on the individual circumstances. Well, that person cut me off, or this person's in New York, they're walking slow. Everyone's walking so slow, or the subway's late, or whatever it may be. Recognizing like, oh, actually, like I'm carrying around almost like the hiccups, or like I got like this, like you're carrying around like a little, like a cough in the back of your throat, or there's, you're carrying around like this, it's actually this little condition that you're carrying around called anger, called fear, called anxiety, called resentment. You're carrying around those things. It's actually like, well, I can change the thermostat of my state of being. But first and foremost, I have to recognize that it's my thermostat. It's not the conditions around me. It's the condition of my heart. And so he's speaking a lot about the nature of the condition of the heart. And he says this beautiful thing where he says, let this be our calling. Every time we encounter divisive and unkind communication, let it be our calling to love, a reminder to connect even more deeply to our heart, to compassion, to kindness. Let it be a reminder to choose and listen to and be guided by our heart, to fulfill our true nature and purpose, to perpetuate peace, generosity, and love. And the title of this chapter is Engage Your Heart in Your Yoga Practice. So bhakti is the yoga of the heart, sometimes described as the yoga of devotion. And so much of the Gita, we read the Gita here regularly on Spirit Matters, Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to bring his heart into his yoga practice. And what is our yoga practice? Our yoga practice is our everyday life. Our yoga practice is our everyday life. Continue on. And that's, we're in we just read the third chapter, in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, talking about the nature of karma, the nature of action, the nature of duty, the nature of our individual natures. Krishna describes about our natures. And we each have our own psychophysical nature. And it's important for you to understand and carry out your own psychophysical nature in this world, not try to be like somebody else. How much of life is so much? I mean, in one sense, it's beautiful to have access to so many resources in the world today through media and social media and entertainment and sports, et cetera. We get to be inspired by other people. We get to have examples of other people. We get to read so many books are more available to us than ever. And there's so many opportunities and ways to learn from other people. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's a double-edged sword where I start to think that my life is supposed to be like somebody else. I read about somebody else's success story and I think I'm supposed to live exactly the way they did. My life is supposed to be like theirs. And in addition to creating an inspiration, it also creates an insecurity. It creates a comparison. And I think that now I'm behind in life. My body's not supposed to look the way it's looking. My bank account's not supposed to look the way it's looking. My relationship status is not supposed to be the way it is. My health isn't supposed to be the way that it is right now. And so we start to compare and we start to think my life is supposed to look like somebody else's. So it's a really, really tricky thing to be inspired by others, but not feel like I need to copy them. And so Krishna is encouraging Arjuna throughout the Bhagavad Gita. And one of the main threads is live your life, live the life that I've created for you, but bring your heart into it. And recognize that actually the goal of my life isn't to construct the material circumstances in a particular way, but allow the material circumstances to soften my heart in a deep way. So he continues, the name of this chapter is, again, Engage Your Heart in Your Yoga Practice. He continues, he says, the first step to engaging our heart in our yoga practice. And again, what is my yoga practice? It's not my up dogs and down dogs and my asanas and my, 2 hours a week on core power yoga or aloe moves with Bryony Smith. I practice with Bryony Smith on YouTube sometimes. It's my daily practice of choosing how I interact with the world on a regular basis with other people. So we ask these questions. Is my heart becoming softer or harder? It's a great question. As I'm writing that text message, sending that email, do I feel my heart becoming softer or harder? That is an indication whether I should hit the send button or reword it or step away or reconsider. Is my heart opening and expanding, or is it shrinking and shutting down? Am I acting from a place of love and kindness or from a place of competition and fear? I'm going to ask those questions again. Is my heart becoming, the first step to engaging our heart in our yoga practice is to be more conscious of its state. And this is the hallmark of a yogi, of a bhakti yogi specifically. A sensitivity of heart, an awareness of how something's affecting me and how I'm affecting the people around me. And a question of, is my heart becoming softer or harder? Is my heart opening and expanding, or is it shrinking and shutting down? Am I acting from a place of love and kindness or from a place of competition and fear? So there's these verses that I've been reading that I wanted to share with everybody. And I forget, I teach a lot of classes. I have this class and that class, and I have the podcast. And so I forget sometimes where I've shared something. So if I've shared this here already, forgive me. But I think that it's worth sharing many times in many places, because for me, every time that I go over, I'm like, wow, it's fresh. It's there's that phrase that we need to be reminded more often than we need to be instructed. And that's so much the Gita. You find also that Krishna is there's tremendous repetition in the Gita, tremendous repetition in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's not redundancy, but it's actually a deepening. Bhakti is not necessarily about like discovering something new. Love isn't about discovering something new. It's about deepening in an experience with somebody. And so the realizations that we're trying to imbibe through our study and through our learning, it's about deepening. It's about deepening our realization of something. So there's these beautiful verses. This is in the beginning of the Bhagavat Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which there are 12 main books known as cantos. And in the first canto, the second chapter, so right in the beginning of the book, there's a verse that is often recited. If you listen to Wisdom of the Sages, they recite this verse before every episode. Nashta prayasya bhadrashu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, meaning like nityam bhagavata sevaya. Nitya means eternal, ongoing, unceasing, continuous. Bhagavata sevaya, to engage in service. So that can be, Bhagavat means either the book Bhagavatam, meaning like sacred literature. We have the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. It can also mean the person Bhagavatam, meaning that individual who lives their lives according to the principles of that literature. So that service can be either regularly giving your oral reception, meaning oral reception in the sense of hearing and listening and studying, or by rendering service to the individual. Service is such a powerful part of bhakti. In the fourth chapter of the Gita, Krishna, later on in the very fourth chapter, which we're reading, we'll get to the verse where Krishna says that you should approach somebody who is a knower of truth and inquire from them submissively, rendering service. Why do we render service? Because it softens the soil of the heart. And when the soil of the heart becomes soft, it becomes fertile ground to receive the seed of wisdom and love, so that it can take root and grow into a beautiful fruit of love. Otherwise, we receive the beautiful gifts that are given to us, but they drop onto barren soil because our hearts are closed up. They're hardened. And closed up, hardened hearts isn't a critique. It doesn't mean that you're a terrible person. We do that sometimes just to protect ourselves. There's good reasons why we do that. And so you're not at fault necessarily, but you do owe it to yourself to question if it's still needed and if it's worth trying to find a new way of operating and living. So by regular attendance on Bhagavatam, I'm reading this verse from the second canto, the first canto, second chapter of the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to those pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the Supreme, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, so as the heart begins to soften, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desiring, and hankering, disappear from the heart. So we read a lot about in the Gita about the modes of material nature. And the lower modes of nature just sort of wash away from us. And we become established in goodness and become completely happy. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the person whose mind has been enlivened with contact of that devotional service gains positive scientific knowledge of the Supreme Person in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus, the knot in the heart is pierced. That's the phrase, which is so powerful. Hridaya grunta is the Sanskrit word. Hridaya means heart, and grunta means this grunty, this knot. And if we just, it's part of the process of the beginning of spiritual life, is when this happens sometimes when we begin spiritual life. It's just beautiful sunshine and rainbows and just excitement, and everything's beautiful, and we found something amazing, and we dive in. And then at some point along the way, we come in contact with a knot in our heart. And we start to wonder, like, is this really working? Oh, what's going on here? And we recognize, like, no, it's working. I just got big knots in my heart that I was just having dinner with a friend last night who spent like a 2-week cleanse experience in Hawaii, where they go and you eat like this special diet of like soft foods and fruit. And then you have like this period of, it's like cleansing out like your colon. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but it's just, you recognize that like throughout your life, just so much stuff gets, chemicals and parasites and just things just like all build up that just gets stuck in there. And it's just over life, from all the stuff that we eat, all the stress that we take on, all the things are just, and they're and they're just kind of sitting in there. And you don't realize, it's not like one day you decide to just eat a bunch of junk and that's where it all comes from. It's every day. Every day we're consuming things that just kind of add a little bit of gunk internally into the system. And similarly, on a subtle level, we're doing that. On a subtle level, we're doing that with our heart every day. Every little nick, every little bump, every little resentment, every little thing we hold on to. It's like putting your headphones in your pocket. Everybody ever had that experience? You pull your headphones out of your pocket and you're like, how did that happen? I couldn't tangle these things up so delicately if I tried. And all I did was just stick it in my bag. And I pull it out and it's just like a knotted mess. How did that happen? It just happens gradually. Just a little movement, a little bump. And the headphones just become a clogged mess of tangle. And our heart gets that way. Just every little bump, every little resentment, every little criticism, every little gossip, every little blame. It just kind of adds that, it just tightens the rope a little bit more, and it creates this knot in the heart. And then all of a sudden, I try to love, I try to receive love, or I try to express love. And it's like, I got this handicap. And so the knot in the heart can be pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. Srimad Bhagavatam says, and the chain of fruit of actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. So how do we pierce that knot in the heart? Is by regularly coming in contact with spirit in the form of sacred sound and sacred people. And how do we relate to that? We relate to it through service. Thus, back to our Yoga and the Dark Night of the Soul book, back to this ancient Japanese art of repairing things with gold and making them more precious and beautiful. Simon Haas says, there's an ancient Japanese form of art known as kintsugi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which means to repair with gold. Broken pottery is repaired with lacquer, dusted or mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. The philosophy of this symbolic art form is to highlight rather than conceal the damage caused by life. It treats breakage and repair as a natural part of the history of an object. The intrinsic value of the object doesn't decrease because of quote unquote brokenness. Rather, it appreciates. In our life, we build an identity and a story, rather like fragile ceramic ware. That creation is susceptible to the breaks, the knots, and the shatterings of life. The dark night of the soul breaks us apart. In a culture obsessed with image and perfection, we try to disguise the breakages. We want to forget the damage of life, certainly not highlight it. If something is broken, we usually throw it away. But ancient wisdom traditions have, for thousands of years, taught us how to embrace the flawed and the imperfect, highlighting the freedom and spaciousness this brings. There's great beauty in life's imperfections. Kintsugi, the art of repairing with gold, delivers the message that we can embrace our own brokenness, claiming it as a natural process of being alive. Rather than hold our shattered pieces with shame, fear, or self-loathing, we're called to hold them with love and tenderness, as if gilded in gold. Love is the gold lacquer that allows us to put together the pieces of our brokenness in the dark night of the soul. Love and kindness makes us whole and beautiful, imbuing our brokenness with wisdom and revealing the strength inherent in vulnerability. It's easy to focus on the disappointments of life, the flaws, the broken pieces. This can make us cynical, hardening our hearts. It can make us impervious to the suffering of others. This is the path of V-yoga, the opposite of yoga. By using love and kindness as a precious lacquer in our life and the life of others, we engage our heart in our yoga practice. And so we have the opportunity, such a beautiful passage. I love that. We have the opportunity when life breaks us open. What is my prayer, my intention? Am I going to allow this to harden my heart? Or am I going to pray and meditate and set the attention and be conscious that let my heart soften? And excuse me, every opportunity, every circumstance in life is an opportunity for us to soften my heart. When something great happens, I have the opportunity to be humbled by it, to express gratitude for it, to want to share it with others, to allow it to soften my heart in a way that connects me more deeply with others. And when something seemingly terrible happens, it's an opportunity for me to soften my heart and to increase my compassion for others, to resist the urge to blame, find fault, criticize, to invite love into my life, to let go of the concept that I need things to go a certain way in order for me to be happy, and increase my compassion in such a way that I can look out into the sufferings and hurts of other people and connect more deeply. And rather than wanting to add to that in anybody's life, wanting to diminish and decrease the sufferings of others. But we only get there if we're operating in a higher mode of nature. So we have to surround ourselves. How do I become more forgiving? I surround myself with forgiving people. How do I become grateful in life? I surround myself by grateful people. I invite higher frequencies of sound into my life, into what I read, what I hear, what I speak about, and what I converse about with others. And it's why I'm so glad that you're here. It's why I'm so glad that you're here, and why we want to invite these sacred literatures, Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and why you invite beautiful guests in our community to come and share with us, and why we love to hear from you. We love when you write to us. We love when you communicate and connect with us. We love our live Zoom studio audience who's with us on a regular basis. Thank you so much, because we need each other, because we're all trying to soften the heart. All of us have some knot. Some of that knot is like, it just looks like a mountain. Some of you think, oh, I got like a really small knot. It's just a little double knot. I can untie that real easy. Maybe that's the case, in which case, God bless you. And may your free, open heart be a blessing to those around you. And when you get a chance, when you get a free moment, come help me untangle mine, because I'm lost in the tightness of the heart. So we love you all so much. I love you guys. I'm grateful for you. And this is the time where we turn it over to Kimberly, who's our Wrap It Up Acharya, who has takeaways for us. So if you missed anything that I said and are looking for just one or two simple little words or phrases to give you something to walk away with, this is what she's here for. So tune in. And what do you got for us, Kimberly?
All right. Bring your heart into it. Be inspired without comparison. Service softens the soil and pierces the knot in the heart. Embrace your brokenness. It's a natural part of being alive. And love and kindness is a precious liqueur.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Appreciate that. And that's just been my meditation here. Just like, whew, how can I soften my heart? Things may or may not go. I can't control the way anything goes, but I can make a prayer that my heart gets softened. There's plenty of work in that department. So thank you guys all so much. Really, really grateful for you. Please, please take care. Please be well. Know that you are loved. We got one more episode this week. Tomorrow we got Jumuna Jaya joining us, which I'm looking forward to. Next week, we've got my friend Brajarani, who's going to be joining us for most of the days, I think. And so tune in for that. Thank you again so much, everybody. Please take care. Bye-bye.